I think my favorite part of mountain biking is the evolution of how you perceive environments. I think it's that time spent where I want to slow down and I want to see what makes each trail and each environment special. And I come away with an appreciation bigger than myself.
I originally got into racing because I thought I was the best and I wanted to prove it. And then I found out I wasn't the best. And then I didn't like racing that much anymore. No, I realized I can be competitive against myself and I want to perform as well as I think I can perform, but I don't have to be better than everyone else. I don't know, it just feels so good to have that power to maneuver yourself that way. And you're dancing on the dirt and everything is going together harmoniously. It's exciting, it's adrenaline, it's endorphins. It just feels good to have the wind in your hair and go as fast as possible.
At some point during a ride, I'm trying as hard as I absolutely can for an extended period. You know, usually that's the climbs. I like to go uphill fast. For me, that's a huge part of riding, is enjoying the challenge and kind of accepting that it hurts and liking it.
For my brother and I like riding bikes. It was just a fun way to be outside, keeps you in shape, and I think the big thing is just going fast in the woods and in the mountains.
Just one step led to the next where, before we knew it, we were running census rad trails under Cam's Inc., and that's the dream come true.
A lot of my job will be convincing a city council that has never even seen a mountain bike before, explain to them the economic benefits of having a trail in their town.
So this historically was the N Trail and UNR downhill trail. So it's been a kind of an iconic downhill mountain bike trail for the Reno community. And in the last few years, we've noticed a lot of illegal jumps being built, very hazardous. And we recognize the need for downhill mountain bike trails, more progressive trails.
Illegal trails have really played a big role in progressing the sport. If you look at every cool feature that you see on legal trails now, whether it's a jump or a berm or a wooden feature, I guarantee it was inspired by something that was done illegally in the woods in California or the Northwest, and that would never have happened if someone didn't just go out in the woods and do it themselves.
No public trail is built the way that I would want it to. So I like illegal trails sometimes because I can rake it out or put it in any direction that I want it to go.
A lot of land managers like SPI, the railroad, they don't care. And that's why exists.
A rider can build what they feel is missing in their community, and I think that's the biggest thing for anybody to learn. If there's an illegal trail there, it's why is that trail there? Well, if you're investing in trails and you're overlooking the needs of all trail users, and you miss the mark, I think there's a bigger issue at play.
You are building something that you're technically not allowed to build, but it's not really harming anything if no one really knows about it. It's like your own trail.
I can't tell you how many new trails I rode this summer. That's my life.
Honestly, there's no better feeling than riding a trail for the first time.
There's so many trails being built.
There's only going to be more trails. We're only going to be building more and more trails. It's crazy. I think that trail building is going to stay on pace with the growth of biking.
Tired of waiting, I'm running out of patience. I'm about to make my move right now. I'm about to make my move right now. I'm tired of waiting, I'm running out of patience. I'm about to make my move right now. I'm about to make my move right now. I'm tired of waiting, I'm running out of patience. I'm about to make my move right now. I'm about to make my move right now.
So this section is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, this is gonna be nasty.
Yeah.
I'd rather have like a solid bench cut in the middle, and it doesn't need to be easy. Any rock that you can essentially like move with your foot, like that. Like this rock's gonna have to go. We sent a rock down that was like this big, and we rolled it, and it hit that thing, and it rolled past those trees down there.
It went straight that way, and then it shook that big tree. Somebody get a bar in. There we go.
I think it'll be okay.
Right.
I think this will also settle.
I think it's all gonna collapse.
You know, there's an environmental impact that comes with building a trail. And if no one's there to kind of monitor it and sanction that process, then, you know, there are things that could be really detrimental to the ecosystem.
At least there's some dirt in here.
Dude, the dirt's not bad.
Even if you do everything right and it's built super sustainably and it has all the, you know, environmental assessments done correctly, and there's still an environmental impact.
And it depends on the trail. Like what Cody's doing, like all that time they're spending out there with all that big machinery, like there's a definite impact there.
I try to be mindful of it. Sometimes you just can't avoid it. You know, sometimes I have to drive an excavator through a creek.
We want steep trails, and those are the trails that carry water. The idea is that you don't want the trail to carry the water. You don't want anything to carry the water. You want it to disperse out into the ground. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's when it's channelized that there's problems.
Or if it downpours, you know, it always brings more sediment onto the trail.
And I think that's generally the concern with trail building is sediment transport into waterways. I know parks, we do not do berms. No berms allowed with parks because the idea is that it holds water and carries it onto the trail.
You know, mountain biking, it's an abrasive sport. It rained for a week straight here, like 2 inches a day. And you want that trail to be able to stand up to that, to be able to take that skidding over it.
Most new trails that people are building these days are just illegal little trails that they're building in their backyard or wherever.
You know, a lot of those illegal trails might only get 50 laps in it in a year and from 3 or 4 different riders, you know, if it's hidden well enough. And
it depends on where it is. Another impact I've seen is when they do these races, like in Tahoe City, those trails. 300 people go through, like right by a goshawk nest. That's definitely gonna have a negative impact. But in general, it's just a concentration of people. That is the problem. And the use of the trail. Like obviously the more use you have, the more wear and tear, the more dug up and loose the dirt gets. I didn't necessarily want to be a wildlife biologist. I always had interest in animals. I went with biology more so because it was a very broad subject. I feel like I have purpose. I'm glad that I have a career that like kind of makes me feel good about what I'm doing, and I'm working in the same areas all the time, and I have been for 10 years, so I can notice change when it's occurring. The most alarming change, I would say, is an absence of species. This nest over here is one of our most successful, and they didn't nest there this year, but you can see some remnants of some sticks on top of the snag. We rely on a healthy ecosystem for our survival, for oxygen, for nutrients and nutrient storage, for pollination of our plants, our food, for pest control, for wastewater management. Those are all mechanisms of biodiversity. Like we don't really realize species are declining until it's kind of too late.
You know, I ride a lot by myself. A lot, you know, often when I'm way out in the middle of nowhere, when I stop, take a break, there's no one to talk to. Like I'm just there, and it's my time to enjoy it, and then I'm gone, and everything out there is going on just like it was. I just pass through. I am a total flower nerd. There were some really cool flowers up here earlier this summer. I actually have pictures of them on my phone. Last flower standing of the year though.
Every valley, every landscape is a watershed at its root cause. And I think the cool thing is when you look at historic trails, like you look at trails from the 1900s, these mining trails, they really did have an eye for like how to get across a landscape efficiently. And they built things that lasted a really long time. Like every time you go over a feature that you haven't had to rebuild in 3 seasons, like there's a lot of pride in that, like any craft. You kind of fall into the maps yourself and you get to a point where you see the topography and you see the meadows and the ecology and the watersheds. You know, you can kind of envision what the trail feels like, and then you can go out on foot and feel what the trail feels like. The gradual change is always the hardest thing to see. And so, you know, rather than wait for the problem to arise, kind of like anything in life, it's a lot easier if you just mitigate it. Trails should be outsloped at all possible, and I'm not talking like off camber, like keeping that slope of the trail tread, you know, a couple degrees towards the outside so that when rain comes onto it, it washes off is key. What really is like mountain biking without trails? I don't want to disparage like, you know, unsanctioned trail building. Like it's kind of the root of this weird sport. But I think, you know, you evolve more towards some sense of coexistence with the environment. It's a path forward. It's a trail to somewhere, I guess. Everyone thinks they can build trail and maybe not.
Trail builders know how to armor sections so the whole trail doesn't run into the forest, into a local watershed. There's so much oversight in them. They're usually built super sustainably. There's environmental impact studies that are done. That's why it takes 2 years for them to get built.
You realize this complex quilt that is trail building, this aspect of trail designing, creatively telling the story of a landscape.
The nice thing about biking is that you don't need 5,000 vertical feet. You don't need chairlifts and all this stuff. You just need a good community. And the best communities I've found are those, you know, in the kind of strangest places where you don't think you're gonna find mountain biking. And it sounds cheesy, but it's true. It's like so satisfying when you see how many people are riding bikes.
I think trails are positive, even though they have an impact on the environment. I think that they're the most positive thing ever, because I think it just gets people into places where they wouldn't go. It's impossible for them to not stop and take a water break or a deep breath and not appreciate where they are.
I think you inherently see the change in ecology, and you visit again and again and again, and you start to see the nuances and the patterns that exist in nature. And I think that's really what starts to delve into people. Trails are a story, and they're either to be written or read. Trails are a chance to go out and experience everything that makes an environment special, and to tie their own emotions and memories to a place in the footnotes of it. That kind of final chapter that everyone sees is how it all kind of comes together to make a place special. And that's really usually just a feeling. Come out and you feel better.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Nice.
Ready for a water break? Yeah.